So you're building your collection, or you already have your collection, and you're thinking about an ultrasound and whether or not it's worth it. Get it now, get it later, or don't get it at all. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's going on, guys? Will here, Flawless Exotic Creations. Gonna knock out this video really quick. We actually got two messages within the last month about ultrasounding. Now, my homie Paul over there at Spheric Reptiles, go over there, check him out. He already did a video. I actually been forwarding his video to people that ask us questions, you know, as far as newbies like ourselves getting into it and wanting to grow and seeing when or even if they should consider buying an ultrasound. So I figured I'll knock out our video to tell our perspective and experience with it so far. And everybody is going to be different. Everybody's going to be in different projects. Everybody's going to be on different time frames on what they would like to do. If you're under the time frame where, you know what, you're having fun, you're breeding, you're doing your thing, and you don't find that an ultrasound is necessary, don't get it. You know, that's perfectly fine. But we also want to put information out there for people that's curious on whether it's truly worth it. So we're going to talk about it. So here it is. Now, before I open this bad boy up and just kind of just show it off, this isn't going to be a how-to or anything video. This isn't even going to be a, hey, you should buy this specific one. We want to more so speak plain Jane English to breeders or aspiring breeders on, you know, whether or not you're going to need it. And big shout out to my homie Ray, my favorite reptile podcast. We were on there, episode 6. Go, you know, subscribe to him, check him out. Doing big things, loving his collection as well and what he has going on. But when you're building your collection, there are different levels to what you're deciding to do. Take this understanding, you can have a very high quality collection and it be extremely small. You don't have to necessarily scale up. You're working on your own time frame. Don't rush for anyone else other than what you would like to do. That being said, in our collection, actually we're just taking notes for this video, since we have to do a lot of cleaning and breaking this bad boy out to actually check for follicles. We check every once a month, maybe every 3 weeks. Sometimes we'll skip a month. It depends once we rocking and rolling. We're 7 clutches in so far right now, and it's April. So I'll explain on the tail end of things on how we actually do things with the ultrasound. But in our collection now, we've been doing really well. You know, here it is, our second season. Our first season, we had over 250 hatchlings. We had 43 clutches. We had 42 holdbacks, or 41 holdbacks. And we were still purchasing at the time. Mix that with all our breeders and everything we had at the time. I mean, we were well into, you know, 300 snakes with the babies. I'm very happy to announce now that we're nowhere near that number. So right now we only have 40 babies that are even available for sale. Some of them are not even posted to Morph Market just yet. So check out our Morph Market to see if we have anything that you can utilize for your programs. We do have a handful of very standout males and females that can push certain projects along. We just posted a pastel orange dream inchy super asphalt girl that's over 300 grams. We also have a bunch of double het hypo monsoon, some of them with, you know, carrying special as well. We're really deep in the monsoon and double visual projects, but we have a lot of stuff going on, a lot of pod ultramel pieces for, you know, whatever puzzles you're trying to figure out. And we're deep in puzzle, but we haven't started releasing any of that stuff yet. But enough of that. numbers wise. So right now, currently, we have 137 breeders, okay, full-size breeders. Of those 137 breeders, we have 114 of those are females, okay, and only 23 males. That's very important for the breakdown of what we're going to talk about with this ultrasound. So now, even though we had 41 holdbacks, we purchased another smaller one, so we have 42 grow outs in total. So we have 42 grow outs, 23 breeder males, 114 breeder females, and 40 hatchlings, young juveniles that are available for sale currently or soon to be posted to morph market. That gives us a grand total of 219 ball pythons in our collection. Reason that some of these numbers are extremely important for our structure, our standards, and what we're building is your males, not necessarily your females. We went out there and for the sake of our programs got what we're interested in and what we feel can push us to the next level on creating some absolutely incredible productions. That being said, some of these males that we ended up picking up, all 23 of our males are not breeding. They're breeder size, but they're not breeding. We try to practice 100% what we preach. We try to make sure we go out and get exactly the male we want, and then we go out and try to get a backup male. And if all stars align, we try to go get a backup for that backup. So a lot of the times our backup male does not end up actually even being paired to anyone for the whole season. That's the way we want to work it. Some people see it as a waste of money. We don't see it that way. We feel like it's kind of doubling down on your investment. Just because you have a year-old male, a 2-year-old male, doesn't mean that he's going to start breeding like clockwork with no issues. So we're trying to circumvent any possible problems when it comes to pairing. We watch everyone that put out videos. We do all of our research, all the little tips and tricks, but sometimes nothing works other than time itself. And that comes the fact of this ultrasound. So we utilized the Contact. This was the Amazon special. It comes with an awesome case. The probe, we got the linear probe. Everything is awesome, cord, everything comes in the carrier case. We actually leave this down here. We got the ultrasound gel. Not really going to show this thing off, it's really pointless. There's so many videos actually on YouTube, but I want to talk about the purposes of why we would use it. So having those 23 males, I should have sat down and saw how many of them are actually breeding, but let's say 75% of them are breeding. So round it off to 16 breeder males. So 16 breeder males and roughly 114 breeder females. But we're not breeding all of those females. Some of those females are, you know, we're giving them a season off, or they're at breeder size and we're just not pairing them. We want to, you know, get a little bit more girth, get them over 2,000 grams for next year in hopes of having, you know, a bigger clutch, and not just a bigger clutch, but once they lay their clutch, they can snap back faster. So we have a lot of females. That's having that number offset like that allows us to do those things. So we're shooting for possibly 50 clutches. I doubt we hit 50 clutches, but every single one of our clutches means something to us. So with our males, so let's say for instance your season is starting. Now when our season is starting, really our season never really ends, but we'll go through and we'll ultrasound all of our females that are at size, you know, 1250, 1300 grams, we're going to ultrasound them. If they're 1100 grams, we actually don't ultrasound them. We probably could, but we just find time constraints, not really trying to rush these females to breed right away. So we do 1250 and up, we ultrasound. Now there's a priority list we end up making. So let's say for instance we break all these different females down into different programs amongst these 16 breeder males, and out of the 114, like I said, let's say 60 of them are going to end up being paired at some point throughout this season, and we section those off with the males we have. Now if every male, none of our programs have the even amount of numbers, so for sake of the argument, let's say a male has 4 females. of those 4 females, it would be very common practice to be able to week 1 pair your male up, see what happens. Maybe it locks, maybe it doesn't, and give them a break next week or whatever, and keep moving along. We feel that the way we do it is pretty decent, and it may change in the near future, who knows. But if he has 4 females, we're ultrasounding those females to see where their follicle growth is at. Now, there's 2 scenarios, or it could be more than 2 scenarios, but generally speaking, either none of the 4 females have follicles, and that's okay. Or let's say one of the females have follicles, or multiple. So if scenario 1, if none of them have follicles, then we kind of put it in the pecking order. This is the only 4 females that this particular male is going to go to. Since they have no follicles at the moment, there's actually no huge rush. So what we would typically do is pick one of the 4 females, and we document it, pair him with that female, what they call a getting them started, pair him with that female in hopes of generating follicle growth. Hopefully they lock, you separate them, and like I said, 3 weeks later, we'll ultrasound all 4 of them again, see if, any of them are growing follicles. If the one that we paired him to is starting to grow follicles, we still won't pair him back. We'll try to move him along to the next female to hopefully jumpstart them growing follicles. Or scenario number 2, and I'm gonna keep it brief as possible. Starting all over, you ultrasound all the females, there's 4 females, you ultrasound, you were going to start with female 1, you were gonna pair them if you didn't have an ultrasound, but you have one, and female number 1 has 0 follicle growth. Female number 2, no follicle growth. Female number 3, let's say she's at 12 millimeters. Female number 4, no follicle growth. Now, what that tells us is now we're going to actually take our male, instead of putting him with female 1, I'm going to put him with female 3, who already has follicle growth. What that does is it takes advantage of his sperm count going and hopefully pairing and tying with that female, getting her going for her season, already rocking and rolling. Then in another 3 weeks, we're ultrasounding again to see if any of the other females are growing any follicles. So basically it makes sure that we don't go in a strategic order, but we're trying to go where he is needed, so we don't necessarily waste him week after week after week. Once the season is rocking and rolling, I mean, you may have 4 females, at different follicle growth sizes. And you may be getting ready to pair that male to a female who's, 35, millimeters, something where she's done and she's ready to go. And you're wasting your male, generally speaking, putting them to her because she's already gravid and ready to rock and roll. Where you can utilize your male with a different female that's on his list. So, like the popular opinion, ultrasounds are going to be utilized to save your males. It's going to be utilized to save your males. After a certain length of time of pairing, I don't know how people are doing it. We pair let's say for instance this week we'll pair, and then after they release we'll wash our male. We've done videos on that. We'll wash our males and put him back in his enclosure, in his tub, and then we'll feed on feeding day. Feeding day right now is Tuesdays. So we'll feed on Tuesdays, and typically they'll eat, they'll digest their food for 2 to 3 days, and then we'll be looking to pair him again, or the males again, with their next females. The males that we use, we typically don't pair them if they don't take their meal. Only time we'll pair them without them, taking a meal for that week is, like we said, we like our bigger males. If we have males over 1,000 grams and they decide not to eat that week, perfectly fine. Sometimes 2-3 weeks, perfectly fine. That's why we like our bigger males, because they get so focused on breeding that they, disregard all their food. Their food drive goes away. But we've had much success going through the breeding season last season, doing it that way. And after a couple weeks of breeding being completely done, whether they have all gravid females or whatnot, typically they end up going back on food. That's pretty much it. Don't want to dig deep on the different scenarios. Is really worth it for us. when it comes to our males, because also while we're pairing these males, and these males, say for instance, are not taken to their females, that's when we go down our lineup, we'll go to a backup, and hopefully don't have to go to the backup. And he can fill in, because let's say for instance the primary male is not ready yet, or has decided he does not want to breed. So for us, the ultrasound has been truly a lifesaver. I believe we had got it on sale. I don't know what they're going for right now at this moment. I want to say last year when we got it, it was $12.50 on Amazon, and free shipping. It might have been like a coupon on Amazon or something of the sort. There's other options out there. I believe some more expensive, some less. This has been a game changer for us. To make sure that we're able to do our very strategic breeding process. When you think about the cost, no matter where you end up getting it from, cost is relative to the project. You know, it's the same thing like these racks. Yeah, we can all complain about the price, because who wants to pay a whole bunch of money for anything? Nobody, I don't think. But I mean, we've paid more for a snake than an entire rack, you know, so it's like, cost is relative to what you're working on. And if a machine like this that's going to cost you $1,200 or $1,300 that you can utilize, hopefully issue free, we haven't had any issues, year after year after year, that's going to save your males and actually increase your egg production every year, we feel that something like that is very, very worth it. Comment down below if you disagree, if you agree. We're not trying to push you one way or the other. We're just telling you our experience and what we're going through. So we feel that as a new breeder, as an experienced breeder, we feel it's worth it on both sides. And if you can swing it, like I said, $1,200, $1,300, to us it's no different than buying an expensive tool that's going to help you with your passion project, with your hobby, with your business. And it's a tax write-off. So take it with a grain of salt. Some people like it, some people hate it, but we're going to use it. There is a learning curve on it. I have my son down here teaching me on it. So it's really cool, and I love it. We're not going to steer away from it. We're going to dive into it every season and utilize it for what it's for. But it's Will, Flawless Exotic Creations, and we out.